Who was better, Babe Ruth or Barry Bonds? Ted Williams or Willie Mays? Walter Johnson or Christy Mathewson? A retrospective question that sports fans and pundits have been asking throughout history. Many debates have been held throughout many ages about many different players, but that debate ends here. Welcome to a new series on my channel where I will be going over two players from any era at any position and pitting them against each other to find out who was better. Now, if you want to skip straight to the head-to-head and skip the explanation of how I will be determining who is better between the two players, you can go to this time or go to the chapters. But these are the criteria I'll be looking at to decide who was better. We will be taking a look at the stats for both players, as stats are the cold hard facts about who a player was, but context is also important, so we will be taking context into account as well. For hitters, we're going to be looking at every category they got: power, speed, fielding, defense, you name it, we got it. And for pitchers, we'll look at run prevention, hit and walk prevention, and individual dominance. And of course, for everyone, we will be taking a look at the most important stat as outlined in these videos: wins above replacement, also known as WAR, the ultimate value stat in all of sports. So basically, this is a complete statistical overview of every stat of these two players, putting it head to head and determining who was better. But that's enough talking about the criteria. Let's put it into practice and jump into the head to head with who was better, Lou Gehrig or Rogers Hornsby. Now, starting us off with the context, Lou Gehrig was a first baseman who played for the New York Yankees from 1923 to 1939. He played in 2,164 games while stepping up to the plate 9,665 times. And opposite Gehrig stands Rogers Hornsby, a second baseman who played from 1915 to 1937 for the Cubs, Cardinals, Braves, Giants, and Browns, the team that would later become the Orioles. Hornsby stepped on the diamond for 2,259 games and had 9,480 plate appearances. So right off the bat, we can see that Hornsby played in more games, but Gehrig had more plate appearances, but they're both pretty close. Now, with an idea of who Gehrig and who Hornsby were, let's take a look at their numbers. Our standard stats for this head-to-head are runs, hits, singles, doubles, triples, home runs, RBIs, stolen bases, walks, strikeouts, batting average, on base, slugging, and OPS. Now, Gehrig has Hornsby beat in runs, home runs, RBIs, slugging, on base, OPS, and strikeouts, while Hornsby leads in hits, singles, doubles, triples, stolen bases, walks, and batting average. Now, some important things to note: Gehrig was definitely on the better team, so him scoring all those runs makes a little bit more sense. Although Hornsby's teams were no slouch at all. He was a player manager, he won World Series, they won a lot of games with Hornsby there. Now, Gehrig was definitely the more powerful guy with more home runs, RBIs, better OPS, stuff like that, but Hornsby arguably had the better bat-to-ball skill with his large, pretty sizable lead in hits and batting average. So, after looking at the standard stats, Gehrig leads in 7 categories, and Hornsby is tied with him at 7 categories as well. But these stats, they're really just not cutting it. Sure, it's nice to know who hit more home runs, who have more RBIs, but in order to fully compare these ball players, we need to take a deeper, more advanced look. In our advanced stats section, we have OPS plus, RBAT plus, advanced on-base average or reference on-base average, runs created per game, batting average and OPS difference, offensive winning percentage, batting average on balls in play or BABIP, isolated power or ISO, home run, walk, strikeout, and extra base hit percentage, as well as win probability added. And starting us off in the advanced category, we have one of the most important stats ever, OPS plus. A quick summary of OPS plus: it compares your OPS to the league that you played in that year's OPS, and then normalizes it to where 100 is the league average and then factors for your ballparks. So we can see that Gehrig actually has the lead in OPS plus by 4 points, so technically speaking, Gehrig was 4% better at OPS compared to his league than Hornsby was compared to his league. But then again, that's only when it comes to OPS, which entails a lot of things in itself with on-base and slugging. But if we look at RBAT plus, which is just OPS plus, but instead of using OPS, it uses batting runs as their index for WAR, we can see that Hornsby actually has a lead of 3 points. So one has a lead in OPS plus and the other has a lead in RBAT plus. But both of their leads are pretty close, so let's move on to the next stat. Reference / advanced on-base average. This is based off of Tom Tango's weighted on-base average, where you get weights according to how you get on base, like a single was worth a little bit less than a double's worth a little bit less than a triple, home run, etc. Lou Gehrig actually has a pretty noticeable lead here, which aligns with another stat we'll see later with extra base hit percentage, where he has a 2% lead there, that's pretty sizable, showing that Gehrig was able to get on base more valuably than Hornsby was. But we're kind of comparing, two of the greats here, so Hornsby is still 7th all-time in reference on base average. Runs created per game, again, I outlined this in my hitter stats video. Gehrig has the lead here by almost a full run. But in offensive winning percentage, Hornsby actually has the lead with a slightly higher percentage, which is kind of funny to me because Gehrig has a higher hypothetical runs per game, but Hornsby has a higher hypothetical winning percentage. But then again, they played in different leagues, and those stats are compared to the leagues that they played in. Alright, two pretty important stats here: OPS and batting average difference. This takes your batting average and your OPS and subtracts it by the league batting average and the league OPS. Hornsby has a big lead in the average category, and Gehrig has an okay lead in the OPS category. Again, this is continuing the theme of Gehrig being the better extra base hit guy, and then Hornsby being the better bat-to-ball guy. And more stats show that theme, like BABIP, batting average on balls in play, ISO, isolated power, home run percentage, extra base hit percentage, with the winner being who you would expect to be in that category. But one final and important advanced metric to look at is win probability added. Again, that's explained in my hitters video, but Gehrig has 90.5 while Hornsby has 80.5. So the outcome of Gehrig's at-bats and base running ended up accumulating more wins than Hornsby, who still had 80, which is very good, but according to win probability added, Gehrig was the much better clutch hitter. So from the advanced section, we can learn that Gehrig was better at things like OPS plus, power, getting on base more valuably, while Hornsby had the league in index batting runs, batting average on balls in play, batting average difference, offensive winning percentage, and strikeout rate. So it's still quite a tight race, but Gehrig takes 10 of the advanced categories while Hornsby takes only 5. So that was a lot of stats and some advanced ones at that, but some of you might have noticed we're missing some pretty important ones. So it's time to move on to our final stats section, the value stats. Now we'll be looking at the value stats of Gehrig and Hornsby. Those are their win and run values. First off, let's just jump to the most important one, wins above replacement. And straight up, Hornsby accumulated more WAR when it came to volume and efficiency. He's got Gehrig completely beat there. He has 127.1 WAR to Gehrig's 113.8. He has .0563 WAR per game to Gehrig's .0526. He has .0134 WAR per plate appearance to Gehrig's .0118. Not only does Hornsby have Gehrig beat in wins above replacement, he has him beat in wins above average, runs above replacement, runs above average. He has Gehrig beat in both volume and efficiency for the big 4 value stats. In fact, the only thing that Gehrig was better at than Hornsby in the value section was batting runs, base running runs, and double play runs, which are 3 of the 5 stats that account for WAR. But Hornsby got much more value for playing a position like second base and playing that at such a high level, as well as playing much better defense than Lou Gehrig. So from the value section, we can learn that Hornsby has pulled away from Gehrig when it comes to earning wins and runs valuably, both efficiently and from a volume standpoint. So sure, Gehrig has the lead in batting runs. He was the better bat when it came to strictly earning batting runs, but it's not just batting runs. There's 4 other categories when it comes to WAR. We're not looking at only batting runs. We're looking at the entirety of the value stats section. And according to them, Hornsby has the lead. He wins a whopping 12 stats in this section, with Hornsby only taking 3. So this brings us to our conclusion. Was this a tight race? Yes, absolutely. These are 2 of the best players to ever pick up a bat and play the game of baseball. But someone has to walk away the winner. And that winner is determined by looking at the stats. On screen now are the total categories led by section and the 2 stat types, cumulative and rate stats. And the leader with 24 categories led, Rogers Hornsby. Let's hear it. Give it up for Rogers Hornsby, everybody. But in reality, the winner isn't determined by just who led in more categories. Hornsby has Gehrig beat in almost every value category out there. He was more efficient and effective at collecting wins and runs for his team, which is like the whole point of the sport, is to win and get runs. Now, yeah, Gehrig definitely has Hornsby beat in some pretty important stats like OPS plus, advanced/reference on base average. Those are very important and that matters, and that's why it was a close race. But I believe that Hornsby has a big enough lead in the value section, and he held his own in the other sections, and that lead is big enough for me to give him the nod. But hey, Lou Gehrig is my favorite player of all time. He's one of the only jerseys that I own, so if you want to give Gehrig this race, I really can't hate that take. But in this series, we are strictly looking at the stats, and the stats say that Rogers Hornsby was better. But there you have it. There is the head-to-head in who was better, Lou Gehrig versus Rogers Hornsby. Let me know your thoughts down below. Did I miss any stats? Did I misinterpret things? Do you think Gehrig was better? Do you think Hornsby was better? Make sure to let me know down in the comments. Hit that like and subscribe button as well. And as always, thank you guys so much for coming to class. I've been Professor Baseball. You've been great, and I will see you next time.